Welcome back to part 2 of the Treehouse build. If you haven't seen the first part, I will link it above. Last time we left the treehouse as a boring freestanding frame. In this video we're going to get it to a finished platform. Out of the weather and in my shed, I was working on the uprights for the guardrail around the treehouse, which I wanted to install before the floor went in. The first thing I did was to notch the bottom of each post. The reason for the notch was so that I could get a good 50mm of wood to attach to the structure, yet have the girth of a 100mm 2x4 up top. I then cut a taper out of the upper end of the post. The taper at the top was to create more space, or more so the sense of space in the platform. With the taper it pushed the top horizontal rail out over the edge of the platform. After cleanup I drilled and countersank for screws on the bottom part and drilled pocket holes on the upper part to attach the top horizontal rail. I didn't want screw heads on the top of the rail as it would allow rain to seep through the timber. I spaced the guardrail posts evenly in most spots and then around certain areas like the top of the stairs. Having all the posts pre-drilled made the process a lot quicker. More strength will come from the horizontal timbers holding everything together, which I'll put in after the floor. I used this stainless steel strapping to strap the structure to the main tree. I'll keep an eye on it over the next few years, and if it starts to show stress and pressure, I'll unscrew it and readjust the strap. I also put a lot of stainless steel brackets throughout the structure to strengthen up certain spots to make it more rigid. I started the floor by notching around the leg uprights and working out from the middle. Whether it's laminated floors in bedrooms or treehouse floors, it's definitely not my favourite job to do. There's a lot of cutting and fitting, and it was hard to get a flow going. Each hole had to be drilled and countersunk, and the decking planks had a tendency to split without a countersink. When the main floor was in, it was back to putting the stairs up. If you saw the first video, you would have seen me making this lower platform, so now I was just working out the length of the stringers, which I set at a 45-degree angle. Back in my shed I was then able to put the steps in place, spaced evenly. I had to go back and forward a few times to get the spacing correct, as I was having a couple of slow moments, but I got there in the end. I was using a 175mm wide timber for the stringer, so there wasn't enough meat to cut out to sit the steps on, so I had to cut these little blocks and screw them to the inside of the stringers. Not the best solution, but will do for the moment. Due to the really poor weather last August, I had to jump between different tasks, depending on the rain. I had to organise so I had different parts in place outside so I could take measurements so I could assemble the stairs in my shed when the downpour started. I put the upper stairs in place so I could keep going with the guardrails and floor. I continued filling in the floor of the walkway, and as I got closer to the top of the stairs, I had a better understanding of where extra bracing was needed. I also decided to make the walkway a little wider, so I added an extra 2x4 along the back side of the walkway and moved the guardrails to the outside. These final few pieces of flooring were slow to get cut and fitted, but I was able to keep them close to the top step, reducing any gaps between the top step and the platform. I felt like I was jumping between flooring and stair building, but that back and forth allowed for the best end result. I then started working on the horizontal rails going around the platform. I was going to put more than one lower horizontal rail, but I didn't want to make a ladder for kids to climb over and escape. As of this video, the rails are as they are at the end of the video, but I will be adding more to the guardrails soon. I made a decision to not try anything complicated with the corner uprights, instead choosing to space them out with a block of wood. I didn't have the time to work out the angles and fit each of the 4 corners. I think it worked out fine for what it is. Putting on the upper rail, which is a 3x2, you can see how the taper on the uprights allows for a little more arm room for smaller kids. Pre-drilled pocket holes made life so much easier for attaching the horizontal rail, and the connection was solid. I was under pressure to get this finished, so I chose the path of least resistance, working around any obstacles like the tree in the quickest way possible. I drilled and bolted the upper stairs in place before I started working on the lower stairs. I needed the floor and guide rails in place before putting the lower stairs in, as I wouldn't be able to keep my kids off it. Bolting the pieces together was really satisfying. It was a solid, positive connection, and the more bolts that went in, the less the whole structure moved. Both sets of stairs were the same size and step spacing, more or less, and no one has fallen down them yet. The work I put in on the trampoline steps definitely helped with these stairs. With the lower stairs screwed in place, it was time for a test run.
This looks better than I thought it would look.
Oh, thanks. I set the guardrails up the stairs. They would eventually be bolted together, and even though they weren't the most stable individual parts, when they were bolted together into the treehouse, they were extremely sturdy. It's these last pieces of a job that always take up so much time, especially with regular site inspections going on while you're trying to work. I flush trimmed all the odd parts on the structure. I find this Japanese pull saw from my local German supermarket to be great for doing this kind of work. It's incredibly sharp and allows for flush cuts that you would never plan and cut when they were in separate pieces. You can see the movement when I was drilling the bolt holes, but that did go when it was all tightened up. As it turned out, my 3-year-old was quite good at threading nuts on the end of the bowls, so he was actually helping here. The last job was to round over all the parts where little hands would go. I thought this would take me longer, but a cordless router did the job in no time and it made a huge difference. You can see a red rope around the lower part of the guardrail. I had a kid's birthday party coming up, so I temporarily put that up. It really did very little and just added an extra foothold for the kids to climb up. At this point in February 2020, we've had the structure as you see it since September, and there will be a third part soon where I build out the house, add more guardrails and a few other extras. As always, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time. If you want to see more, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one.